You have been carrying a silent question your entire life. Why do the same patterns return wearing different faces? Why does love feel like recognition followed by ruin? The answer is not in the stars or in fate. It lives in the hidden architecture of your psyche. Every soul you have chased was a messenger from your unconscious, delivering the same encrypted truth. And the moment you decode it, everything shifts. Attraction no longer enslaves you. It liberates you. Let me tell you something that will disturb the foundation of everything you believe about desire. You have never chosen who you love. Not once. Every face that made your heart accelerate, every voice that felt like home, every touch that seemed destined, all of it was orchestrated by the invisible blueprint of your earliest wound. The psyche does not forget. It only repeats until you remember. When you were young, perhaps 3 or 4 or 7 years old, something happened. Not always dramatic. Sometimes it was silence when you needed words. Sometimes it was conditional affection. Sometimes it was a parent who could not see you because they were drowning in their own unseen pain. In that moment, your nervous system made a decision. It learned what love looks like. It memorized the frequency of safety. And from that day forward, you have been searching for that exact vibration in every person you meet. This is not romance. This is archaeology. You are excavating your own origin. The wounded soul does not seek love. It seeks familiar suffering disguised as connection. You call it chemistry. You call it fate. You call it the one. But what you are really experiencing is recognition. Your psyche has found the perfect actor to replay the ancient scene. And you believe this time will be different. This time, if you love hard enough, if you sacrifice enough, if you become small enough or bright enough or perfect enough, they will choose you. They will stay. They will prove that you were worthy all along. But the script never changes. Only the stage and the costumes. Jung called this projection. You take the unlived, unhealed, disowned parts of your soul and cast them onto another. You see in them what you cannot yet see in yourself. The emotionally unavailable person you chase is not cruel by nature. They are the mirror of your own inner abandonment. The narcissist who consumes your light is not your enemy. They are the embodiment of the power you have denied within yourself. And here is the unbearable truth. You need them to reject you, because rejection confirms the original wound. It tells you that your earliest fear was correct. You were not enough then. You are not enough now. The psyche craves this confirmation because the known, even when painful, feels safer than the unknown. But what if I told you that every heartbreak you have endured was not a failure but a message? What if every betrayal was not evidence of your unworthiness, but proof that you were ready to see deeper? The soul does not punish, it illuminates. If you are still watching, drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever felt like you were repeating the same relationship with different people? I want to hear your story. There comes a moment in every awakening when the light becomes unbearable, not because it is too bright, but because it reveals what you have spent your entire life hiding. This is the descent Jung spoke of, the journey into the shadow, the place where all the rejected, repressed, forbidden parts of you wait in silence. For the wounded soul, the shadow is rage. Ancient, righteous, holy rage at being unseen, unheard, unchosen. You buried it because you believed that anger would make you unlovable. You were taught that softness equals goodness, that silence equals strength, that to need is to be weak. So you became the peacemaker, the understanding one, the one who forgives before the apology arrives. But suppression is not transcendence. What you bury does not disappear. It becomes the magnet that draws your opposite into your life. The cold, the cruel, the unavailable. They carry the fire you have denied. And you are drawn to them not because you are broken, but because your psyche is trying to become whole. Let me give you an image. Imagine your soul as a kingdom. In the center sits the throne, but around it in the dark corners live the exiled parts of yourself. The part that wants to be selfish, the part that wants to scream, the part that refuses to give anymore, the part that desires power, recognition, revenge. You have cast these figures into the dungeon because you believed they were monstrous. But here is what you did not know. Those exiled parts are not demons. They are guardians. Each one holds a key to your sovereignty. The rage you fear is the boundary you need. The selfishness you suppress is the self-love you lack. The power you deny is the protection you crave. When you meet someone who embodies these qualities, you are not meeting your destroyer. You are meeting your teacher. They have come to show you what you must reclaim. But most people do not see this. They remain in the dance. They chase the unavailable, believing that if they just love harder, the person will finally open. They stay with the narcissist, believing that their light will heal the darkness. They sacrifice themselves on the altar of potential, hoping that devotion will be rewarded with permanence. It never is, because the lesson is not about them. It is about you. The moment you stop trying to change the other and start integrating the shadow they reflect, the entire dynamic collapses. The magnet loses its charge. The pattern dissolves. This is not intellectual understanding. This is cellular transformation. You must feel the rage. Sit with it. Let it move through your body without acting it out. You must acknowledge the part of you that wants to abandon before being abandoned. The part that craves control because chaos once destroyed you. The part that judges others because you have judged yourself mercilessly. When you can hold these parts without fear, without shame, without the need to expel them, something sacred occurs. The shadow stops ruling you from beneath. It rises into consciousness. It becomes integrated. And the people who once hypnotized you suddenly lose their power. You see through them, not with bitterness but with clarity. You recognize the wound animating their behavior. You feel compassion, but you no longer feel compulsion. You are free. Now we enter the most mysterious part of the journey, the alchemical transformation. The moment when the soul, having faced its shadow, begins to transmute suffering into wisdom. This is not a single event. It is a process, and the process has stages. First comes Negredo, the blackening, the collapse of everything you thought was true. This is when the illusion shatters, when you realize that the person you loved was not who you believed them to be, when you see that the relationship was not destiny but repetition, when you understand that you have been complicit in your own suffering. This stage feels like death, and in a way it is. The death of the false self, the self that believed it could earn love through sacrifice. You will grieve in this stage. You will mourn the years lost, the energy wasted, the versions of yourself you abandoned to please someone who could not see you. Let yourself grieve. Do not rush this. The psyche needs time to compost the old identity before the new one can emerge. Then comes albedo, the whitening, the purification. This is when clarity arrives. When you begin to see the patterns with brutal honesty, you stop blaming them. You stop blaming yourself. You simply see. This is the stage where projection is withdrawn. You reclaim the power you gave away. You retrieve the parts of your soul you scattered across unworthy altars. You realize that the love you sought outside was only ever a reflection of the love you denied yourself. In this stage, you may feel empty. The drama that once filled your days is gone. The adrenaline of chasing, the agony of waiting, the hope that kept you hostage, all of it dissolves. And what remains is silence. Do not fear this silence. It is not emptiness. It is spaciousness. The soul is clearing room for something new. Next comes citrinitas, the yellowing, the illumination. This is when self-knowledge begins to shimmer like gold. You start to understand the symbolic language of your own psyche. You see that every person you attracted was an archetype. The unavailable lover was Hades, pulling you into the underworld so you could retrieve your sovereignty. The narcissist was the embodiment of your disowned power. The rescuer dynamic was your attempt to heal the inner child. By healing others, you begin to laugh at the perfection of it all. The psyche is not cruel. It is precise. It sent you exactly what you needed to become whole. And finally, rubedo, the reddening, the sacred marriage. This is when the inner masculine and feminine unite. When boundaries and softness coexist, when strength and sensitivity become one, you no longer need to choose between being the warrior or the lover. You are both. You no longer need to find completion in another. You are complete. And from that completion, love becomes possible. Not the desperate grasping of the wounded soul, but the generous offering of the whole one. If this is resonating with you, take a moment and subscribe to the channel. This journey requires community. You are not alone in this. Now we arrive at the phenomenon that seems miraculous but is simply law. When the soul completes the alchemical process, attraction flips instantly. Not because the external world changes, but because your internal frequency does. You are no longer vibrating at the frequency of lack. You are resonating with wholeness. And the universe, which is consciousness reflecting itself, must respond in kind. The people who once fascinated you now appear transparent. You can see their masks. You can feel their hunger. But you no longer feel the pull to fix, to save, to sacrifice yourself on the altar of their healing. You watch them with compassion but without attachment. You recognize that they are walking the same path you once walked. They are still unconscious, and that is not your responsibility. What happens next is extraordinary. As you stop chasing, something begins to chase you. Not people, but presence. You start to notice synchronicities. The right book appears at the perfect moment. A conversation echoes your inner thoughts. A stranger says exactly what you needed to hear. The world becomes participatory. It responds to your coherence. And then gradually, new people begin to enter your life. But they are different. They do not trigger your wound. They do not demand that you shrink or expand to fit their needs. They meet you in stillness, in authenticity, in mutual respect. The connection feels effortless, not because there is no depth, but because there is no defense. You are no longer attracting from desperation. You are attracting from resonance, and resonance is the language of the soul. But let me warn you, this shift can feel lonely at first. You have spent your entire life addicted to intensity, to drama, to the adrenaline of uncertainty. When that disappears, the ego panics. It tells you that peace is boring, that stability means passionlessness, that if there is no chaos, there is no love. This is the ego's final illusion. Do not believe it. True passion does not arise from fear. It arises from presence. When two whole souls meet, the chemistry is not volatile. It is volcanic. Not destructive, but creative. It builds rather than burns. You will also notice that your dreams change. The figures that once haunted you, the distant lover, the angry parent, the crying child, begin to merge into symbols of integration. You might dream of mandalas, of rivers flowing into oceans, of light emerging from caves. These are messages from the unconscious. It is showing you that the inner kingdom is no longer at war. The exiled parts have been welcomed home, and something even more profound happens. You stop seeking meaning outside yourself. You realize that you are the meaning. Every encounter, every challenge, every moment of silence is the universe experiencing itself through you. You are not separate from existence. You are existence becoming conscious of itself. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not perfect, whole. Able to hold the full spectrum of human experience without fragmentation. Able to feel joy and sorrow simultaneously. Able to love deeply while remaining sovereign. When you reach this state, attraction is no longer something that happens to you. It is something you generate. You become the source. And those who are ready to meet you there will find you. Not through effort, but through alignment. But with this awakening comes responsibility. You can no longer pretend to be unconscious. You can no longer participate in dynamics that diminish you. You can no longer betray yourself to keep the peace. Your sensitivity, once a wound, has become a superpower. You can feel the energy of a room before a word is spoken. You can sense when someone is lying, not to you, but to themselves. You can see the archetypes moving through people like invisible puppeteers. This is both gift and burden, because now you see what most people cannot. You see the collective wound, the inherited trauma, the generational pain passed down like cursed heirlooms. You feel the suffering of humanity, the grief of the earth, the chaos of the unconscious masses. But here is the difference. You are no longer consumed by it. You have become the alchemical vessel. You can hold darkness without drowning. You can witness pain without absorbing it. You are the bridge between the human and the divine, the personal and the archetypal, the conscious and the unconscious. Your presence alone becomes healing, not because you do anything, but because you are integrated. People feel different around you. They soften. They speak truth. They drop their masks without knowing why. This is not manipulation. This is resonance. Coherence attracts coherence. Wholeness invites wholeness. But you must also protect this state. The world will test you. Old patterns will return wearing new faces. People from your past may reappear, hoping to pull you back into the familiar dance. You will feel the tug, the temptation to rescue, to prove your growth by healing them, to show that you have changed by changing them. Do not fall for this. Growth is not about saving others. It is about remaining sovereign. You honor their journey by not interfering with it. You honor yourself by not sacrificing your peace for their chaos. There will be moments when you feel the weight of this awareness, when you wish you could unknow what you now know, when you long for the innocence of unconsciousness. But remember, even in these moments, you are not alone. Every mystic, every sage, every awakened soul has walked this path. They too felt the burden of sight. They too wondered if ignorance was easier. But they chose consciousness, and so have you. Here is what I want you to understand. Your wound was not a mistake. It was an initiation. It was the universe's way of cracking you open so that light could enter. Every person who hurt you was not your enemy, but your alchemist. They applied pressure to the exact places that needed to break so that your true self could emerge. And now that you have emerged, you carry a responsibility. Not to fix the world, but to embody the integration you have achieved. To live as proof that transformation is possible. To be the evidence that healing is real. And so we arrive at the final revelation. When the wounded soul stops chasing, love does not disappear. It transforms. It ceases to be a transaction and becomes a transmission. You no longer seek love to fill the void. You offer love because you are full. You no longer crave validation because you have validated yourself. You no longer need to be chosen because you have chosen yourself. And in that choosing, everything changes. Love becomes spacious. It no longer demands permanence or possession. It does not require labels or guarantees. It simply is a recognition between two souls who have done the work, who have faced the shadow, who have integrated the disowned parts, who have become whole enough to meet without merging. This kind of love is rare, not because there are few people capable of it, but because few are willing to do the inner work required to access it. Most people prefer the familiar pain of unconscious patterns to the unknown peace of conscious relating. They would rather repeat the drama than risk the vulnerability of true intimacy. But you are not most people. You have walked through fire. You have descended into your own underworld and returned, carrying the treasure. You have learned that the soul's deepest desire is not to be saved but to be seen, not to be completed but to be witnessed in your completeness. When you meet another soul who has done the same work, something sacred occurs. It is not the fireworks of infatuation. It is the steady flame of recognition. You see in them the same journey you have walked, the same scars transmuted into wisdom, the same darkness integrated into light. And you bow to each other, not in submission but in reverence. This is the love that heals, not because it fixes but because it reflects. You see yourself through their eyes and remember your divinity. They see themselves through yours and remember theirs. Together, you create a field of consciousness that elevates everything it touches. But even this love requires surrender. Not the surrender of the wounded soul who abandons themselves to keep the other, but the surrender of the ego who wants to control the outcome. You must learn to love with open hands, to hold without grasping, to cherish without clinging, to honor the other's freedom as sacred as your own. This is the paradox of mature love. The more you release, the deeper the bond. The less you demand, the more you receive. The quieter you become, the louder the connection speaks. And here is the final secret. The love you have been seeking your entire life was never outside you. It was always within. Every person you chased was a mirror reflecting the love you refused to give yourself. Every heartbreak was an invitation to return home, to the only love that is eternal, the love of the self for the self, the human soul recognizing its divine nature. When you arrive at this understanding, attraction no longer controls you. You are no longer at the mercy of your projections. You can feel desire without being possessed by it. You can experience longing without losing yourself. You can open your heart without fear because you know that, even if it breaks, you will not shatter. You have learned that you are not the wave. You are the ocean. And the ocean cannot be destroyed. It can only change form. So here is what I want you to remember. Every soul you have loved, every heart you have broken, every pattern you have repeated, all of it was leading you here, to this moment, to this understanding, that you are not broken. You never were. You were only remembering who you are. The wound was the doorway. The pain was the teacher. The loneliness was the initiation. And now, having walked through the fire, you stand on the other side, not unscathed but transformed, not perfect but whole. The wounded soul who once chased love has become the conscious being who generates it, and the universe, recognizing your frequency, will respond in kind, not with the chaos you once knew, but with the harmony you have become. This is the law. This is the mystery. This is the promise. When you stop seeking outside what can only be found within, everything you have ever desired finds you, not because the world has changed, but because you have. If this message spoke to something deep within you, I invite you to share it. Someone in your life needs to hear this. Someone is still chasing. Someone is still suffering. And your willingness to pass this wisdom forward might be the catalyst for their awakening. Until we meet again, remember, you are the universe experiencing itself. You are the love you seek, and you always have been.